Today, we are discussing how to stop over identifying as a people pleaser and connect to who you really are. My name is Amy Ballantyne. Welcome to Power to the People Pleasers. I'm so excited to have my guest Stacia here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, I think it'll be a great one. And, I always like to ask the question to our guests. Have you ever been a people pleaser? And if so, how did that show up in your life?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think probably most of us have some experience of people pleasing, but I was definitely heavily identified as a people pleaser for a long time. And I think I learned that behavior from the women in my family, that we were all about it's all about pleasing others. That's sort of the template for how I learned to do life. And I'm the youngest of five kids, so I grew up with a essentially a single mother who took care of everyone but herself. So I learned that behavior from her, and that showed up in me like overworking. I would yeah, it's like I didn't know how valuable I was for so long, especially in my 20s. I would do the jobs of multiple people, and of course my employers loved that. But I
Hmm.
didn't even know how to ask for things like a raise or how to negotiate on something like a bonus. I didn't even it didn't even register or like come up for me. I was just like thrilled to be helping, or like I just didn't have that sense of self-worth because my energy was so focused on other people. And then obviously in relationships and romantic relationships, a lot of not knowing or being able to recognize or articulate what my needs were, being hyper focused on caretaking for my partners in a codependent way. So all of that.
Yeah, so I appreciate you being open and honest because it allows for people listening to see that they're not alone as well. And there's
Yeah.
so many of us that have these patterns that we've been running for a long time. So I appreciate you, and I want to share with the audience your background as a somatic practitioner and trauma informed coach who specializes in internal family systems. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Somatic experiencing and hypnosis, with a background in corporate leadership and extensive training in relational and somatic healing. She supports high achieving professionals and sensitive individuals in healing attachment wounds, building emotional resilience. I love that. And creating more authentic relationships. And your work helps clients move out of survival patterns. So, we're going to talk about some of those things today. Now, as we jump in, the over identification as a
Mhm.
people pleaser.
Yeah.
Share with me, how is that showing up for your clients, and what are the things that you're using in your practices to support them to maybe shift away from that?
Absolutely. Well, I think I like to recognize that people are multidimensional. So we are not just one thing. So a lot of people who struggle with people pleasing, they will say, I am a people pleaser. And I like to challenge that and say, I bet that that's not all of what you are. I bet that there are aspects of you that really know how to take care of yourself, that rebel against overextending yourself. And that's always the case. Nobody is simply just a people pleaser. There are many dimensions to us. But when we when we're overly identified with that part, it might be that it is kind of driving the bus a lot of the
Mm,
time and making the decisions. And then there are other aspects of us that feel in conflict about that, and we don't
mm,
feel settled. We feel like we there's parts of us that know that this doesn't work, that we're maybe even hitting places of burnout in our career or relationships, holding or harboring resentment for other people. So I like to help people kind of step back and see the full experience of their internal system and see that,
mm,
okay, yeah, I do have a part of me that people pleases, and begin to understand, well, why? What is that part truly trying to accomplish? What is it
mm,
afraid would happen if it didn't do that? How can I extend and meet that part with appreciation, um, rather than resentment or whatever kind of energy that you have towards that part? Because it's hard to accept parts of us that create problems, right?
Mhm.
But but truly, a people pleaser part of us, that is a protective strategy that does have good intentions. It is trying to help other people. It's just kind of overactive and a little out of balance. So
Mhm.
in my work, I I want to help people to build a relationship to it, to help support their own internal experience so that that can become more balanced, that they
Mm.
can manage being able to care for others and for themselves.
Mm. Yeah, I had a client once who was so adamant that they couldn't possibly take care of themselves because everyone else around them needed them all the time. I'm curious, how would you have handled that conversation and what strategies might you have given that individual?
I would extend a lot of compassion and
Mhm.
appreciation for that because I bet that they are probably very competent at
Mhm.
taking care of other people. And somebody who is so good at that probably, I mean, I, I I don't know, but they may have a background of complex trauma where they, they were. There's this term, the adapted adult child, where maybe they
Mhm.
became very they developed adult behaviors as a child, and they've been doing this for a long time, taking care of other people. So I'd want to like first just appreciate, yeah, like you are amazing at caretaking for other people, and then I would be very curious to know if they really like that, if like truly that is something that is working for them in their life,
Yeah.
uh, right? Because usually it's not. Usually it's exhausting. It is exhausting to not be able to take care of ourselves. We people literally make themselves physically ill doing this
Mhm.
because you don't have that space to be able to take care of yourself, to meet your own needs because you're constantly taking care of other people. So yeah, I would be curious about that, and then I would be interested in taking the steps to create a sense of internal safety and just finding what steps could be taken so
Mhm.
that that person can begin to you know find where are the people who they might trust just enough that those
Mhm.
people have some like can take care of themselves, and maybe then also even asking for some support, really identifying where are those relationships where it doesn't have to be full trust, but maybe there's like just some level of trust and security around them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's really valuable. I'm curious, I mean, I read off the list of all of
Hmm.
the, we'll call them modalities or
Hmm.
methods that you support individuals. Can you talk a little bit about internal family systems, the IFS practitioner, and how this comes into play as a coach for people as people pleasers or otherwise?
Sure. IFS is amazing. I hope that some of your listeners have heard of it. And if you haven't, I would definitely recommend looking it up. So, IFS is Internal Family Systems, and this was created by Dr. Richard Schwartz. It is a model for understanding ourselves. So, in that model, it recognizes that we are multidimensional, that we are comprised of parts, that we have protective strategies. We would call the people pleaser part
Mhm.
one aspect that could manifest in an individual as a protective strategy, as a way to survive, as a way to get through life, and it's an adapted response that likely was learned in childhood, as most
Mhm.
protective responses are. So learned through the modeling of their, what was received from their caretakers, or how they had to behave in relationship to their caretakers. Uh, like, say, you grew up with a parent who was an alcoholic and was struggling all the time. Somebody might learn how to really appease and make themselves small or cater to that person in order to keep themselves safe. And then they could repeat that behavior with everybody else in their life, because that's sort of that primary relationship really does ripple through all the other relationships. So we have protective strategies, but then underneath those protective parts are what we call exiled parts. And these are like the deeply wounded uh, inner children. These are the parts of us
Mm,
that hold like the unmet needs, the grief, the fear, like those really uh, big, scary experiences that we couldn't metabolize as children, that we couldn't process because we didn't have the right support around us,
mhm,
which most of us, it's like there's all of us can probably look to moments in childhood that were very difficult, scary, or like difficult in some way, and we didn't have the right kind of support. So the mind exiles those memories
mm,
uh, for protection because we can't handle them, and then we find different ways to cope.
mm,
So one of the ways that we might do that is through people pleasing, or it could manifest as avoidance or as rigidity or rage. There's so many different things that we do to protect ourselves. But this model IFS also contains something called self energy, and
mm,
that's the core of an individual that is able to be differentiated from all these parts. I think that self, and Richard Schwartz has said this before as well. I've heard him say this before, that self is equivalent to soul. This is like our
mm.
soul essence, and when we can
Yeah.
stand and walk and embody that energy, then we can we become the loving caretaker through that energy, through the embodiment of that energy to all these different parts. And we can see, like, when we build the relationship to the people pleasing part, we can look at it through that lens of compassion and understanding. And even just through that energy and that way of being with it, it transforms.
Mm,
Um, so that is the goal of IFS, is to become self-led, is to live from that place.
mm.
And yeah, it's transformative. It changed my life, and I love facilitating IFS sessions for others.
That's beautiful. Do you do that in group sessions with people or individually? How does that work?
So I'm trained in IFS for individuals and for couples,
Mm,
and
cool.
I also know how to implement it in a circle process as well.
Wow, incredible. You talk about somatic experiencing. How is that a piece of the puzzle for how you support individuals?
Yeah, so this is Peter Levine's work, Dr. Peter Levine. Um, Again, another great, incredible, brilliant mind to look into if your listeners are not aware of him. But he developed somatic experiencing as a modality to help um, essentially heal the nervous system, to be able to become more regulated, to be able to find, yeah, more regulation in the nervous system, more capacity in the nervous system to be able to
Mhm.
be with our challenging experiences. So it's it pairs really well with IFS because it adds this physiological component of actually understanding the autonomic nervous system and what is happening, like, for example, with people pleasing. What's really happening in the nervous system when you're people pleasing? You're probably having some sort of hypervigilance, or some activation of like sympathetic energy, hyperarousal, where there's this hypervigilance to, like, pleasing other people. Uh,
Mhm.
and 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 when we look at that, we can look at that activation, and we can work with that through different somatic exercises to help deactivate and create and repattern a different sort of response in the nervous system, where
Mm,
you can notice the nuance of, like, of activation as it shows up when you're in these situations with other people, and your system wants to go into this same pattern of people pleasing. And then we can create a greater capacity to be with that, and to have a different choice
mm,
where you can find something that feels more authentic and nurturing for yourself, where you don't have to just give yourself away totally. So
mhm,
so we're working from that aspect of the nervous system.
mhm.
Mhm.
Is there a quick tip on this nervous system uh, somatic experiencing that you could give, or is there it's too in detail to share something today?
Uh, well, So there's so many things. Let's see. I could talk a little bit about pendulation as a resource.
Okay.
First of all, even the topic of resources is
Mhm.
uh, notice it. A resource is something internal or external that helps your system to be able to relax and feel more centered.
Mhm.
So that could be, taking a deep breath. And that could be a resource, or that could be activating in certain situations. It could be moving your body. It really depends on what's needed in the moment.
Mhm.
But if you have a lot of activation in your system, like a lot of stress, then maybe taking a deep breath might be really good. If you're feeling more shut down and like disconnected, like you're not, like you're literally, your body's like in collapse, your shoulders are hunched forward, you're not talking, you're not looking at people. These are all indicators from the body that you're probably in some state of freeze, or
Mhm.
a little freezy. So in that case, that's a sign that the body needs some energy in it, and you might
Mm.
want to get up and walk around, or co-regulate with another individual who can, sit with you and perhaps put their hand on your shoulder and just let you know you're not alone. So just even beginning to understand the different states that you're in, whether it's fight, flight, freeze, or appease, and understanding like what are the resources for my body that will help me to shift into a place of more regulation, more capacity to be with this stress, whether it's a deep breath, whether it's standing up and moving your body. And I don't think I'll go into pendulation right now, but I think that that's even just a really good place to touch into, is just knowing what sort of survival strategy you're in the moment, um, and how you can use resources to help regulate that and become more present.
Yeah, you know what I really liked about this example that you gave, the concept of resources.
Mhm.
Is the simplicity of you don't have to go out and buy something, learn something. It's not external. The reason, that's the word resources. Some people might make the assumption then that means you've got to go gather it from outside of you. But all of your examples were things that you yourself can do right now. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that having external resources is great sometimes, and they don't have to be big, like, you need to go to the spa. That could be a
Mhm.
resource, right? But having like just a simple knowledge around checking in with your body and knowing like what it's calling for in the moment. And it's not, these things don't have to be big. It could just be
Yeah.
simply like, all right, I am feeling really checked out right now, and I just need to orient to where I am in space and time.
Mm.
And I need to call somebody up and have a conversation and talk about what's happening right now. Like literally, like that's co-regulation. So that's like
Mhm.
making connection with another individual and helping to bring yourself into a state of presence, because
Mm.
when we're frozen, then we're not totally here. And that
Mhm.
happens a lot with people pleasing, actually, is people can get pretty freezy and they're not really like present and in their bodies.
Mm.
So reconnecting to the body, through movement. Yeah, real simple things
Mm.
make a
Yeah,
big, they that have a big impact.
I love that. And you also are in clinical hypnotherapy. How does that come to play? I'm
I have such
also
a list.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I'm curious
Thanks.
about how you use hypnotherapy.
Well, I exclusively did hypnosis for a long time, and it be- it became a passion, actually early on in my when I was 21. I was into meditation, and I started doing self hypnosis to help
Yeah.
induce deeper states of meditation, and then I got really curious through my meditation teacher, who was also a clinical hypnotherapist, around how I could apply this to help support other people. I went to school and got certified as a clinical hypnotherapist, and used it primarily for anxiety and helping people uh, to feel to feel more resolved, more peace in their body.
Mm,
So the way that I use that is I do blend all of these modalities together. Sometimes it's just exclusively, I mean, actually, it's never really these days exclusively hypnosis. It's pretty hard for me not to bring in parts language from IFS or
yeah.
some talk about the nervous system and using things like orienting and resources in hypnosis. But hypnosis is really great because we're helping it, I'm helping an individual to access such a deep state of relaxation, but a heightened state of focus. So that's what
Mm,
hypnosis is. It's not unconscious. We're just very deeply relaxed, but high focus. And this is where neuroplasticity can happen. Neuroplasticity is where the rewiring of the brain happens. And if you go on YouTube, you can literally watch videos of this, of like the neuroplasticity happening. It's really neat because it literally is like all these neural pathways kind of reorganizing. Uh,
mm,
so 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 when somebody is in that state of hypnosis, we can more effectively have this experience of neuroplasticity.
mm,
So I primarily am doing age regression with individuals where we'll go back to early memories that were really impressionable and sort of sit in their system unresolved, incomplete, where they got stuck and it's just there's this pattern emanating from it of chronic anxiety or fear around it could be specific or more general, and we can have a different experience through the hypnosis experience. We can imagine having a different experience and then transforming through this like new possibility, this seeding this new belief in the brain and
mm.
and the nervous system. So hopefully when people come out of that, it begins to integrate and their life changes.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
we've talked about so many things today, with the primary focus of how to stop over-identifying as a people pleaser and connect to who they really are. When you think of the clients that you've worked with, even your own personal development work, um, is there anything else that you want to share to tie a bow on this conversation that would be
Hmm.
relevant for those people who over-identify as people pleasers?
Yeah, I think that what you said at the beginning, you're not alone. This is really common. And it's not, it, people can, we can pathologize ourselves and think that there's something really wrong with us when we do things, when we have habits like people pleasing. But I just want to say that it's okay. And this is not a bad part of who you are at all.
Mm,
It's a very brilliant aspect of you that adapted to whatever environment uh, that you grew up in, and in order to survive, in order to like get through whatever challenging experiences that you were going through. So if your listeners are struggling with this, if they can just give themselves some appreciation
mm,
for just how hard they've worked through this kind of behavioral pattern to survive and really appreciate it and not criticize themselves so much. I mean, that just starts to move the needle. Just not getting stuck in this cycle of self-judgment and
mm,
recognizing this is not a choice. It was not a conscious choice. Nobody like says, I want to have a life where I just struggle with people pleasing. No, it's something
yeah,
that you learned and it became automatic. Even today, if you're still struggling with it, it's not like you're choosing on a daily basis, I want to like people please today. It just
mhm,
becomes an automatic pattern and it takes time to shift that. But in my opinion, like truly, the first thing that that will begin to shift that is self-compassion.
mhm.
Just real compassion for yourself and recognizing like I didn't choose this. It's okay that this is happening and I appreciate like how hard I'm trying to transform this.
Oh, I love these words. I love
Thank you.
these words of self-compassion. Um, I'm really grateful that you wrapped up with that because I think that's part of what's missing for many people is really showing themselves that love and kindness.
Yeah.
Uh, in many of these situations. So I want to thank you so much for your beautiful energy and wisdom today. It was wonderful to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Amy. I really appreciate you. Thank you for having me on.
And where can the listeners find you if they want to connect for more information?
Yeah, they can find me at my website. It's staciaaashna.com. And when they go on my website, there should be some pop-ups for a couple of different free items that I offer. One is a webinar that includes a very powerful IFS meditation. So if they're curious from this conversation about IFS, that webinar goes into IFS as well as somatic experiencing. And there's an experiential practice in there to give you a mini transformation, as well as a PDF nervous system guide to help implement that work after the webinar. And then if they visit my hypnosis page, there's also a free download for a hypnosis recording for stress and relaxation.
So wonderful.
Yeah,
Well, I will make sure all of these links are below in the show notes for everyone to go and connect with you. And again, thank you so much for being here.
thank you.
And to all of our listeners, I want to thank you once again for tuning into Power to the People Pleasers. We're so honored and grateful that you spend this time with us. Please stay. Please